Hi everyone. Today we are going to be going over how to create a rubric-based gradebook. I'm working within a fake school, so Screaming Eagle High with fake students. So any names or scores that you see are not official students. It is all fake information so that we can remain confidential, but also be able to show you what your gradebook will look like with students once you're done setting it all up. So I'm going to be setting up Math 7 gradebooks. So I have 1 through 6th period with obviously a 4th period prep. I've created them already, so I'm going to be showing you what I click to be able to do that. I'm going to go to Manage Gradebook, and it takes you to the tab to configure your gradebooks. We want to make sure that we are in fall. So this is the first semester, so we're going to be clicking fall. And then for first semester primary gradebook, that will automatically click the associated gradebook box as well. And I do want to remind you, this is a fall school, so ignore these course titles. We are going to be working under the Math 7 guys today. So my gradebook name is 1 for period 1, and then the course name Math 7. Once you've gotten that set up, go ahead and hit save. And we are going to jump over to the options tab. Now, this is where it's going to look a little different than what you might be used to setting up. We're actually going to be clicking this first box that says use a rubric grading scale to compute total grade. We are not going to be choosing to weight our assignments by category. We're actually going to go down to this fifth box, and we're going to apply weighting to formative and summative assessments. Now you're going to see this slider, and it has a little toggle. You can mess around with it and play, but we want to make sure that the toggle is all the way to the left underneath formative percentage. And you're going to see that formative is now set at 0% and summative is set to 100%. So we want to make sure that this first checkbox is clicked and this fifth checkbox is clicked. So rubric grading scale and apply weighting to formative and summative. Anything after the formative and summative slider is going to be teacher preference. So you can go ahead and choose whatever you'd like, set it up, whatever your preference is. Underneath, you can go ahead and do that. Once you have all of your gradebooks set up, you can actually click this button, copy options to gradebook, and whatever you've chosen for this particular gradebook will copy over to the rest of them. So you're not having to redo this 5 or 6 times. Just another option. You're more than welcome to set it up for each gradebook individually, but that copy option is available at the bottom here. Next, we're going to go over to category. Our categories are actually going to be the essential standards for that semester. If you don't know all of your essential standards, that's perfectly okay. You can set up the essential standards that you know of right now. And if you have to add one, you can delete it, or you can add it in later, or you can remove one if you decide, or your content area decides that that is not going to be included for that semester. So for Math 7 first semester, I have these 4 essential standards, and those are going to be my categories. We are not going to be clicking doing weighted scoring. This is not going to be weighted, so you can list them as the standards themselves, and then choose whatever color you want to be associated with it. Once you go ahead and click save, we're going to jump over to final marks. Here are the bands that we're going to be using for rubric scoring. So remember, with a rubric-based gradebook, our scores are going to be from a 0 to a 4. These are the bands that we have been using for an A, B, C, D, and F. We are not including pluses or minuses. So you can go ahead and use this as a reference for setting up your final marks within your gradebook. Once that's done, you can add your students, and you can now go to scores by class to see your entire class. Now, my first period Math 7 class for the fall has some fake students in there, and I've already set up some assignments within the gradebook so we can get an idea what your gradebook will look like. A lot of people choose to put some sort of an emoji or signal in front of any summative or tests in their gradebook. So for my class, I have a green check mark with these 2 summative assessments for these 2 essential standards. If there's no emoji in front, that's our indication that it is a formative assessment. On the left-hand side, you will see a box here that says Show Formative Summative Indicator. If you click that, it will give you an F or an S on top of the assignment just for a little bit more clarification or visual. If I click on a formative assessment, you will see the day that it was assigned, when it's due, rubric, formative, and the category is the standard that that formative assignment is attached to. So for 724 cool down, it's snowing in Syracuse. It is associated with 7 RP2C. So that's how we're creating those assignments. Summative, just make sure when you create the assessment that you are now choosing summative instead of formative. For example, add an assignment. If it is going to be formative, we would drop this down, make sure it's formative. If it's a test or summative assessment, we would choose summative. In the category, this is where you can choose the essential standard that it is associated with. Type in the name of the assessment, and if you'd like to add a description, you're more than welcome to. Now, the benefit to having our categories as our essential standards is that if we were to look at a student, we'll choose Danielle, and we go into their gradebook. Now, we're assuming that this is not all the way through the semester. So hypothetically, we're into October, we've only hit 2 essential standards that were tested. And we have 3 essential standards that have some sort of formative assessment in there. But if you click this arrow that says Show More underneath the student's name, it's going to show you a breakdown of the category, their summative points earned in average, as well as their formative work. So this is beneficial for if you're really wanting to nail down where a student needs to make some improvements or where a student's being very successful. Here I can see that 7.RP2D, we have not taken a summative assessment yet. There is an assignment in there that's formative, but we do not have a summative assessment just yet. So that is missing until that assessment is taken and a score is put into the student's grade. We can see that this student has scored a 2 on RP2B, RP2C. We also have our formative. Now, it is beneficial if you go over this information with students because students can also see this box with information at the bottom of their gradebook for your class. So I do recommend that we go through and just explain again, what is formative, what is summative, what do they want to be, keeping an eye out on, what do they want to look for, and how does this summative points and average match their overall and their mark for the class. This is going to allow students to really be able to hone in on where they also need assistance if needed. And when they come to you for tutoring or for reassessment opportunities, they can be more specific about what they need help with. Other than that, you can add essential standards into the categories, as I mentioned earlier, throughout. So you can just click Add New Category. So if there's a new essential standard that comes in or one that's removed, you can delete it. As long as there's no score already put into that essential standard in the gradebook, removing an essential standard from the categories is not going to change their grade mathematically. So if things change throughout the semester, that shouldn't be an issue. It's okay to be flexible here without impacting the student's grade. Other than that, I hope that helped you get your rubric-based gradebook set up. And good luck. Happy first semester.